And with me now is Tom Burke. He's a former senior advisor to the UK government and chairman of E3G, Third Generation Environmentalism. Thank you very much for coming along to talk to us, Tom. So Theresa May talking there about the collective message that she hopes will be delivered to Donald Trump on the Paris Climate Agreement. She thinks it's possible that the US might change its mind. Do you think that's the case?
I don't think there's any chance that Trump will change his mind. They haven't actually withdrawn. It's going to take them 3 years to do it in any case. But I think there's very little prospect. He's set his face against it, not just internationally, but also in terms of domestic policy. What's actually really interesting to observe is the fact that even most Americans don't support him in doing that. And Mrs. May is right to stress the importance of the rest of the world coming together to give a clear message to Mr. Trump that if security is top of your agenda, migration is top of your agenda, then you'd better do something about climate change.
And our viewers may remember the really impassioned statement that the host Angela Merkel released when America announced its withdrawal, when Trump announced America's withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement. And she talked about the importance of protecting Mother Earth. Now, she really wants to get something done on this at this summit, doesn't she?
I think that's absolutely right. And I think actually it's quite a contrast. Her reaction immediately when Trump made the announcement was very strong, and actually Mrs. May's announcement was very muted. You hardly heard her saying anything, and people noticed and commented on that, which in a sense reflects the way in which even at this summit she's going to be marginalised, because people will have noticed she didn't rush to follow the lead of Mrs. Merkel. She sort of hung back, and now she's trying to say all the right things, but they don't have the same weight they would have had if she had come out at the right time with such strength.
So what can we expect from this summit, Tom, in terms of any statement on the Paris Climate Agreement? Will we see a reaffirmation of support from other countries that will sideline America, sideline Donald Trump?
I think what's really important to look for coming out of this is whether anybody else, any of the other countries, try to somehow trim in behind Trump and use Trump as a kind of a shield. If you have basically 19 countries at the summit all lining up behind Merkel and Mr. Trump on his own, you have a reaffirmation exactly of the kind you're talking about. If you begin to see other countries trimming in behind Trump, then you'd need to start to worry a bit about whether the Trump intervention had started to weaken the global commitment.
If it is the other countries lined up against Donald Trump on this, then, well, I can't think how the diplomats can put a gloss on this, really. It would be a very clear message to him that they are deeply unhappy with what he's doing, but then they don't necessarily perhaps care about causing him offence on that particular subject, do they?
I was going to say, I'm not sure that anybody in the real world is that bothered on this issue about what Trump has to say. If you look at what happened on the same day as he made the announcement about withdrawing from Paris, the BlackRock, the biggest investment company in the world, voted against the board of Exxon because they weren't coming forward to set out what their climate risks are. So the world's major investors take this problem as real and something that has to be dealt with urgently. Just 2 days ago, we had Volvo coming out saying they're not going to build any more internal combustion engine vehicles after 2020. You're seeing the rest of the world move on. So I'm not sure that in the real economy, anybody much is paying attention to what Trump says or what he does, and if that results in the American economy not being able to take the opportunities of building a low-carbon economy, frankly, the rest of the world, especially the Chinese, the Indians, and of course Europeans, are going to be perfectly happy about that.
OK, Tom, thank you very much. It's going to be fascinating to see what emerges from the summit on climate. Tom Burke from Third Generation Environmentalism.